Hey, sports fans, Wade Gerstner with you with another edition of the Sports Ticket Podcast. Today, we're going to talk K-State men's and women's basketball. We'll tell you about Chiefs derangement syndrome, also known as CDS, and there is indeed a cure for it. And 5 sports questions to see how savvy my wife is with her sports knowledge. That's all coming up on this edition of the Sports Ticket Podcast. And thank you so much for those that have been listening and let me know that they've been checking out the podcast. Spread the word, let everybody know so they can check it out as well. As promised, we begin with K-State basketball. Let's start with the men. Wildcats, a wild win over Arizona State on Tuesday night. Senior David Gasson pacing 4 Wildcats in double figures. He had a season high 22. K-State now 11-12 on the season, 5-6 in the Big 12. That doesn't sound that great, but considering where they were and now where they are after a 4-game winning streak, looks a lot better. K-State overcame a 16-point first-half deficit, and they win 71-70. Arizona State had 2 free throws with 4 seconds remaining. Hit one, they go probably to overtime, hit both. K-State more than likely loses. Instead, they missed both free throws, and K-State survived. After being down 15-0 to start the game, down 18-2, they rally, come back, and win. The 16-point deficit is the biggest for K-State ever to be overcome in a road conference game. Max Jones had 15 points. Junior Brendan Housen had 12 points and 4 triples. Senior Coleman Hawkins continues to play well. He had 11 points. And Doug McDaniel, K-State's point guard, flirted with the school's first triple-double. He had 7 points, 8 rebounds, and 9 assists. This K-State men's basketball team was dead in the water. Prior to this 4-game winning streak, they were 7-12. They were 1-6 in the Big 12. But, you know, even though they lost on the road at Kansas, they were down 14-0 in that game. They battled back and stayed in it. This team has not quit, obviously. And are they going to make the NCAA tournament? That's still fairly doubtful. But the way this team's been playing lately, who knows? Maybe they'll win the Big 12 tournament, get the automatic bid. But how has the K-State men's basketball team been able to turn things around during this current 4-game winning streak? You got to start with a couple of players, in my opinion. One, your point guard. Your point guard has to play well for your team to play well. And Doug McDaniel has played much better in the last 4 games, making better decisions, and he's filling a stat sheet. Coleman Hawkins, to me, is kind of the catalyst for this team, and he seems to be making all the right plays right now, and he's been sometimes a little too unselfish, but it works right now for this team. He's filling the stat sheet as well. David Gasson showing great leadership as a senior, and I think he's playing some of his best basketball ever in a K-State uniform. And then Brendan Housen, he's getting hot behind the arc, 4 threes against Arizona State. And then kind of a unsung hero for this team is Max Jones. He's been double figures 8 of his last 9 Big 12 games, including the last 4 games. He's been in double figures as well during this 4-game winning streak. And I tell you got to give a lot of credit to Jerome Tang and his coaching staff. A lot of K-State fans gave up on this team. There were even some fans, believe it or not, that were calling for Jerome Tang to be fired or making fun about how he said at that one time after they beat KU that, hey, expect to win. We don't need more court stormings from now on. You need to expect to win. And there were some people who kind of laughed at that retrospectively. But now K-State has found themselves, and now they have a big game coming up against KU Saturday at 1 o'clock at Bramlage. It took longer than many people expected for Coach Tang to push the right buttons with this team. Perhaps that's because of the transfer portal and bringing in a lot of new faces like Hawkins and McDaniel and the new landscape of college basketball. Maybe we're seeing that with KU in certain ways with their transfers, and the same thing could be said maybe with the K-State men's basketball team. But K-State's playing as good as anybody in the Big 12 right now, and they'll host KU, and we don't know which KU team's going to show up. The one that dismantled Iowa State the other night at Allen Fieldhouse, or the one that gave up 60 points to Baylor in the second half this past weekend. Should be an interesting game. Sunflower Showdown, K-State, KU, 1 o'clock coming up this Saturday at Bramlage. How about the K-State women? As on Wednesday, they had their biggest game of the season, taking on number 9 TCU. K-State ranked 12th in the country, and the K-State women now 22-2, 10-1 atop the Big 12 by themselves as they win Wednesday evening, 59-50 over TCU, 7-0 run to close out the game. No Aoka Lee out with a broken foot, no problem. K-State has won 3 straight games after losing on the road at Colorado. They beat Iowa State in prime time, a game where Phillipsburg native Terrence Sides had 17 points and was 4 of 4 from 3. They blew out KU this past weekend, 91-64. They were 15 of 23 from three. And then Wednesday night, knocking off TCU. Both teams are tied atop the Big 12 standings, but no longer. Serena Sundell was sensational. She had 27. Jalen Glenn, 14. Tamira Poindexter has been an outstanding transfer for K-State from Tulsa. She's played very well this year. And we mentioned Sides has played well off the bench. And there's others to mention, but this K-State women's team now 15-0 at home this year. Could we be talking about a Big 12 championship? Well, right now, if the season ended today, K-State would be your outright Big 12 champions. And according to bracketology, K-State women will be a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament if the tournament were to begin today. Coming up in just a moment, we take a look at CDS. Yes, it's a rare but serious condition, also known as Chiefs derangement syndrome. And also coming up, 5 sports questions to see how sports savvy my wife is. Well, we've heard all about it, right? The NFL's rigged the games. The Chiefs get all the calls. There is a term for it, ladies and gentlemen. It's called Chiefs derangement syndrome, or CDS. It is a rare but very serious condition, but help is on the way, as Josh Chavis, a dad and creative director in St. Louis, explains.
Has football got you down? Are you experiencing uncontrollable rage every time Patrick Mahomes makes a play? Are you screaming the league is rigged before the game even starts? Do you have an irrational, unexplained hatred for pop stars? If so, you may be suffering from a rare but serious condition called Chiefs derangement syndrome. But don't worry, help is here. Introducing Krylenol, the first FDA-approved treatment for Chiefs derangement syndrome, or CDS. Krylenol works fast to help you accept reality that maybe the Chiefs are just better. Patrick Mahomes is inevitable. The refs don't miss the call, your team's just undisciplined, and Andy Reid is simply better than your head coach. With Krylenol, you'll finally be able to enjoy football again, even if it means watching the Chiefs win the Super Bowl again. Side effects may include accepting Mahomes as the GOAT, refraining from tweeting #NFL is rigged, developing a sudden respect for Travis Kelce, reduced blood pressure when Taylor Swift appears on screen, and an uncontrollable urge to watch Super Bowl highlights. Do not take Krylenol if you're a lifelong Bills, Bengals, or Raiders fans. Side effects may be irreversible. Ask your doctor if Krylenol is right for you. Get back to loving football again. Krylenol, because the Chiefs aren't going anywhere, and neither is your pain.
Oh, man, you can follow me on Twitter, NCKS Radio Guide 10, and you can find that link that I reposted, and you can watch the video that accompanies what you just heard. Josh Chavis, 65, that's his Twitter handle. He did a wonderful job putting that together in regards to making fun of those fans that have what we know now is CDS, Chiefs derangement syndrome. Hey, coming up on tomorrow's Sports Ticket Podcast, the national media regurgitating the same stuff this year for the Super Bowl as they have in past years. We'll explain that and why they are wrong again, and why containing Saquon Barkley may not be as daunting of a task as Chiefs fans may think. Plus, of course, we will have 5 sports questions for my wife. And speaking of that, you can enjoy the latest installment. This one is the first of 3 Super Bowl installments for 5 questions for my wife. Enjoy, and thanks for listening to the Sports Ticket Podcast. It's time again for 5 questions. 5 questions pertaining to sports to find out how sports savvy my wife is. And for fun, we throw in my 11-year-old to see if he is more sports savvy than his mother. Of course, the Super Bowl is coming up this Sunday, okay? It's the Chiefs versus the Eagles. And so the topic for these 5 questions, the Super Bowl. All right. Question number 1. My wife always answers first. What number is this year's Super Bowl?
57th.
59.
Once again, the 11-year-old gets it correct. How many Super Bowls have the Chiefs won in their team's history?
4.
4.
That is correct. 4 is correct. My wife will not get shut out this time around. Where is this year's Super Bowl being held?
New Orleans.
Ooh.
New Orleans.
Ooh, good job. Good job. What network is broadcasting the big game this Sunday?
NFL Network.
CBS.
Incorrect. It would be Fox.
I thought
Yeah.
Fox doesn't do the Super Bowl.
Yes, they do. Name a team. Now, hold on now. This is going to be a little bit tricky. We're going to go with my wife until she gets one of these. This could be very entertaining. There are 4 NFL teams that have never made the Super Bowl. There's 32 NFL teams. 4 have never made the Super Bowl. My wife will try to name one of those 4, but she has to keep going until she at least gets one. Ready?
Buffalo Bills.
Incorrect.
New York Jets.
Incorrect.
Minnesota Vikings.
Incorrect.
How many teams are
There's
there?
4 that have never made it to the Super Bowl. You only have to name one. You're 0 for 3.
And there's 32 teams, right?
There are
I do
32
know
teams.
that.
Oh, well, yeah, well, I just said that.
What year did the Vikings make it?
The Vikings have made it multiple times. They've never won one.
Las Vegas Raiders.
Incorrect. Raiders have made it. That's a
Not the
technicality.
Las Vegas Raiders.
Technically, you would be correct, but we're talking about franchises, so sorry.
You did not say that.
Try again.
Oh, my word. Panthers?
Incorrect. This podcast is going to run out of time on this question. Name one of the 4 NFL teams that's never been to the Super Bowl. Try again, dear.
Oh, who was in the playoffs that lost? That we said maybe the Chiefs could let them go.
2 of them. Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, I can't even.
Come on. Just name teams. Here we go.
I mean, I know teams: Dallas Cowboys, Miami Dolphins.
No, keep going.
49ers, Seahawks.
Nope.
Chargers.
Nope.
Cardinals.
Nope.
Texans.
I knew you'd get it. Nailed it. First try. Okay, so the Texans are one of 4 that have never made the Super Bowl. Time for an 11-year-old to show off.
Texans, Jaguars are 2.
Correct. Can you name the other 2?
Colts?
No. One was very good this year. That's never made it to the Super Bowl. That's the one your mother was talking about.
The Lions.
Yes, that's the one your mom, I think, was thinking about. And the 4th one has the blandest uniforms in all of the NFL.
Blandest. That means like boringest.
Boringest, yes.
Well, it's not the Raiders.
No, they're named after a color.
The Browns.
The Browns, and technically they're not named after a color, they're named after a family name. That is Super Bowl installment number 1. As I expected, my wife failed miserably, especially with the last question. Stay tuned. Super Bowl questions installment number 2 coming up later this week on the Sports Ticket Podcast. Thanks for tuning in to the Sports Ticket Podcast.